times, the author of some of the best books on soccer, and most importantly, the patron saint of this festival himself. It was Simon who gave Rachel the first push to sort of follow her dream of putting on a soccer film festival. But he is also known for his books, namely Football Against the Enemy and his most recent success, Soccernomics. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's a great book. In England, it was called Why England Lose, which will probably need another chapter in 2011. Simon was actually, according to some sources, he's a Liverpool fan, but he told me tonight that it's not true. He's totally neutral.
He's an Ajax fan.
How a man who was born in Uganda to South African parents, but grew up in Holland and now lives in Paris, became a Liverpool fan. But that's the way it goes, right?
Somebody wrote it on the internet, it doesn't make it true.
Well said. Next to Simon is Dave Kirby, who is the director of the feature film tonight, 15 Minutes That Shook the World.
And the writer.
And the writer, which we're going to get to. When he's not a Liverpool fan, he is a playwright in Liverpool, which makes you probably the most literary Liverpool fan in the world, or the most football-mad playwright in the world. One or the other.
None of them.
Thank you very much for joining us, and some of his plays include Brick Up the Mersey Tunnels, Lost Soul, and Council Depot Blues, right?
That's right, yeah. It's absolutely privileged to be in New York City.
Great. Well, he's brought some friends too who have been raising a ruckus up on Broadway from what we hear.
Yeah, we've got four of the guys. We've got the executive producer, the guy who shot the movie in, and we've also got Philly Carragher, who's Jamie Carragher's dad, and he's a legend.
And lastly is Simon Borg on the end, otherwise known as Cyborg to some of his friends, who is a writer for, well actually he's a writer for me. I'm his editor at MLSsoccer.com, which is the official website for Major League Soccer. And Simon is a native New Yorker who grew up with the Mets, the Knicks, the Islanders, and the Jets. Sort of shows what side you're on in New York, right? All of those teams. But he was not a soccer fan until he moved back to his parents' homeland of Malta and spent 8 years there and became a mad soccer obsessive. And now he is one of the most astute critics of the game in the United States, in my humble opinion. So thank you, all three of you, for joining us here. We're going to start with Dave, because the first question, the title of tonight's panel is Burning Passion, Why We Love This Game. And Dave, I want to start with you because I want to know how you became a Liverpool fan. Were you just born into it? Or was this something that grew on you?
No, I mean, back in England, you know, in the 1960s especially, we had a fantastic manager called Mr. Bill Shankly. He was the manager of Liverpool FC in those days. We also had the 1960s, Liverpool was like the epicenter of the world, you know, the Beatles and everything else. So I went to Anfield when I was 6 years of age, you know. My granddad went to Anfield, my father went to Anfield. And it's passed on from generations. And back in those days, you know, football wasn't a lifestyle option like it is today. It was a whole way of life. You know, that football club meant everything. So yeah, I went to Anfield at the age of 6, and you know, I looked at the Kop. There used to be a little pen and enclosure in the corner called the boys' pen, and I was looking across at the Kop, and there was flags, and there was a massive colour, and like to an 8-year-old kid, you know, you were gone, you were totally gone, and from that moment on, you know, I was on this journey, and as I say, the football club in the city, I mean, what it is, I mean, basically, we're looking at escapism, you know, that's, for 24 years before I started writing professionally, you know, I was in the construction industry, and I detested my job. I couldn't stand it. It was a shit job. And I used to get up at 6 in the morning, detest every second, but at the end of that week, that football club took me to somewhere else, you know, and as it's gone on over the years, you know, my granddad's ashes are scattered on the pitch, my dad's ashes are scattered on the pitch, and that's the way it is. There's 3 rituals a week at Anfield. People get their ashes spread on the pitch, so it's almost sacred, the place. So, you know, the passion for and the whole city is passionate. Liverpool's a very Celtic city, you know, that's predominantly from Celts, you know, it's a multicultural like New York, funny enough, but, you know, it's predominantly Celtic, and the pride that we feel for that football club, it's just everything, you know, it's I'm tattooed here. I mean, by the time I was 16, you know, I was in Liverpool. If you're unemployed, it's called on the dole. I was on the dole, but I was going to places like Paris and France and Paris and Rome and Brussels, everywhere. But that football club to me was my way out of this shitty life I've been given. And in Britain, predominantly, it's a working class game. But it wasn't until about 15 years ago. Now it's more, the middle classes have come in and taken over. But to guys like myself, and I think I can speak for most British working class lads, it's that football team, in your own city, especially in Liverpool, it's absolutely everything. And it's, as I say, when we won in Istanbul, for instance, there was ecstasy, there was tears, and for fathers and friends who are no longer here and stuff like that. So it's all these passions and stuff all mixed into one. But I think most in Britain it's a social thing, because there's a class system in Britain. And when you're at the bottom of that rung, your only escape is football.
What is it about the game itself, though? Because you're discussing sort of the fans and the fans' perspective as the 8-year-old looking across, and you see the fans. In that entire description, you didn't mention the game at all.
No. I think that's where the passion comes from, because it's as I say, it's spiritual. It's in your soul. You're not just looking at something and skating against the sun. It's in there. When that team wins, you feel so proud. It gives you a sense of identity. It's identity, a sense of community. It's all these things rolled into one that make that passion. Plus the fact, we've won 5 European Cups with Liverpool, and so I've been privileged to watch some fantastic, teams, and our philosophy on the football field is attack. So I'm watching great things as well, so all those things mixed in together. But I've been privileged. Liverpool are still the most successful club in Britain, and I've seen a lot. I've seen 16 titles out of 18. I've seen 5 European Cups. I've been to Wembley 27 times. It's just endless, my CV. So the team themselves. I've seen Dalglish, I've seen Keegan, I've seen Rush. I've seen Robbie Fowler, I've seen Michael Owen, I've seen Torres, so right throughout the ages I've watched great football. So mixed in with that fantastic team is the passion and the soul of the whole city, and the football club is everything.
Now, how does that differ for a small country like Malta? European champions do not grow in Malta very often, right? So.
Greg, I think what comes out of what Dave is saying is that soccer, and it's different from all the other sports in that there's a culture there that's different. It belongs to the people more so than any other sport. These other American sports are really entertainment products that they try to convince you to come out on a weekend to watch. These are more social phenomena, what clubs are. And I think that's what takes it to another level. And they belong to everyone, and it's everywhere around the world. So, every fan around the world can have the dream of one day being the best in the world. When it comes to the isolated groups that are the NFL, the NBA, these isolated clubs I call them, the same passion doesn't exist. Also because I think it's territorial. At its best, my best soccer experience have come because of territory. So in Malta, my best soccer experience to this day, better than being up on Portugal 3-0, better than being up on Brazil 2-0, is the regions in a small country like Malta to have the village that's looked down upon, because it's a farming village, which is where my family's from, going up against the big city within this small country, and the rabid passion it brings out at you in the stadium when you're out not only for your team but to get at those other fans. I think that's it's almost a primal kind of feeling it brings out in you, and I don't think any other American sport comes close.
Well, Simon, you've done a lot of research into the game and the sort of the anthropology of the game. Dave mentioned something about how 15 years ago